Nah, just rusty, man. I haven't done this in a while. Here we go.
You're already live.
All right, what's going on, everybody? It is Edwin from Strictly Comics, and we have a very, very special guest today. We have the amazing, the fantastic, a comic book legend. That's right. He's with us live right now. You might recognize his body of work. He's credited for almost 6,000 issues of comic books as writer and or editor in chief. You may recognize his body of work. His work includes Amazing Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Uncanny X-Men, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Spider-Girl, Avengers, Captain America, Daredevil, and many more. He's co-creator and developer of some of your most recognizable comic characters in comics. He helped develop the early Black Suit Spider-Man, the early Venom days, co-creator of Spider-Girl, Spider-Ham, Silver Sable, Dazzler, the New Warriors, and many, many more. He's the fourth longest editor-in-chief for Marvel Comics from 1987 to 1994, Mr. Tom DeFalco. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great.
Didn't you love that introduction?
That was a heck of an introduction.
Oh,
Where did you get that 6,000 comics from? Did I write that many?
Credited as editor-in-chief and or Marvel or writer. Yeah.
All right, because man, I was just sweating that, thinking, boy, did I do that much work?
He was trying to think, man, what were those
wow.
6,000 that
Look
I
at that,
did?
Mr. DeFalco. I can't believe that.
Look at this. Ron Friends is already asleep.
Oh, man.
So, anyways, I'm glad you're here. Let's go ahead and just acknowledge the people in the chat real quick, and then I'll let you kind of get started because I know everybody here is waiting to see you. They don't care about us. Right now, we got GT Keycom. GT's always here. What's up, GT? He's always like the very first one as well. We also got HL. This is hello, everyone, and Mr. DeFalco. Thanks for being here. And of course, your I don't know if it's your sidekick or your wingman, Mr. Ron Friends.
Always waiting on this guy.
My business partner.
Your business partner.
He's the guy who has all the good ideas. Anything you liked about his work, our work, all the good ideas came from him. All the bad ideas came from me.
Wow.
All the good ideas came from him.
All the good ideas came from him.
We also have Liz here. We also have Paige Turning Monkey. He says, hello, Mr. DeFalco. Who else? We have David Reese is here. He says, howdy, all. We also have Kenneth Bird. He says, hi to everyone here tonight. Beckerman, DeFalco and Friends on Thor was my first pull list book. Nice.
As well it should be.
Yeah. Mr. Spider Flint. Yeah, look at Paul's showing off his books. Evening,
Tom DeFalco, friend.
We got Ed here. He says, I'm here for Tom, not Paul. Okay.
Oh, Ed, really, Ed?
He says, hello. Mr. Collector says, hello. Great seeing a legend on here. He says, smash that like button. Yes, indeed. Definitely hit the like button for us, guys. So we got many more coming in here. We'll go ahead and get started, and then we'll kind of acknowledge them as they come in. But I'll put the screen or the camera on you. If you could just kind of go back to the beginning and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, just in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know about you. Kind of go back to your early days, your beginnings, and get into your all the way up until I guess your Marvel days.
My beginning days, I always knew I wanted to be a writer. I, did all the usual stuff in high school. Worked on the the high school newspaper, the literary magazine. Did the same in college. While I was in college, I started to write some short stories. I started to work for a local giveaway newspaper And from there, I went to start working for the college PR department. Worked on a weekly comic strip, and just any writing assignment I could get my hands on, I grabbed. And after I got out of college, I was looking for a job and got a job at Archie Comics. I think my original title was proofreader. They put me in the art production department, and there I learned the business from the ground up. In those days, you did paste ups, you did art corrections, you colored covers, and after a while, I convinced the editor to start buying my some one-page gags, and then I went to five-page gags, and then to 11-page stories, and then from there I branched out. I started working for Charlton Comics, doing a bunch of titles for them, and then from Charlton I started to do some work for DC, and eventually it ended up at Marvel.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so I know what a lot of people are going to want to go to and talk to right away. You were editor in chief at Marvel from 1987 to 1994, pretty long time. I guess we'll just go ahead and get right into it. I know a lot of people are going to want to know a little bit about the early Black Suit Spider-Man days. I guess what I wanted to ask you is how much, I guess, creative freedom did you guys have at that point and your development of that whole Black Suit Spider-Man and Venom and stuff like that?
Well, the origin of the Black Suit Spider-Man costume, a gentleman by the name of Randy Schuler sent in a plot where Spider-Man got a stealth costume. It was not the costume that eventually appeared. I worked with Randy to try to, get a plot, turn that plot into an actual story. Never happened. And a couple of years later, we signed a deal with Mattel to do a line of action figures, and we're trying to figure out things we could do with the characters to make it, even more exciting. And Jim Shooter said, "Hey, what about that stealth costume?" So he pulled out the stealth costume, realized that was not what he wanted to do, and he hired a bunch of artists to draw their version of a stealth costume. Mike Zeck came up with the design that Shooter liked the most. Then Rick Leonardi futzed with that design. I forget what Rick actually did. I think he put joints in the legs or connected the legs. I don't remember what Rick did. But it's Mike Zeck's design, futzed with by Rick Leonardi, and that was the black suit. And around that time, Roger Stern had been writing Amazing Spider-Man, but Roger decided to leave Spider-Man to work on the Avengers. And Danny Fingeroth came in and told me that Roger was leaving, and I laughed at him and I said, you're going to have a problem because only an idiot would follow Roger Stern. And Danny said, well, I found my idiot. I thought of myself as just a fill-in writer until I could get a real guy to do Amazing Spider-Man. And I noticed, the black suit had special powers, and I went to Jim Shooter and I said, so this black suit has additional powers. How does it work? And Shooter looked at me and said, well, you're the writer. Come up with something.
Wow.
And around that time, I happened to be reading.
Damn Jim Shooter.
I was reading an article about whales and the symbiotes that attach themselves to whales and stuff. I remember calling up Ron Friends and saying, Ron, I figured out how the costume works. It's an alien symbiote. Ron said, great. What's an alien symbiote? And then we went from there. You asked how much freedom we had. In those days, we had a lot of freedom.
Nice.
Yeah, the editor just expected us to come up with the best stories we could, and this is really, Ron and I had worked, me as an editor, him as a penciler at one point, but this is the first time we were working together as writer penciler, and we spent a lot of time just talking about Peter, and the stories somehow came together on their own. One of the great joys of my life is working with Ron Friends, because, like I said, he's the guy who comes up with all these great ideas, and the partnership works because neither one of us has any ego when we're trying to craft a story together.
That's good. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But just
I had a question for you, Mr. DeFalco.
sure.
Yeah, so when they had originally got the suit, it was red. Jim Shooter got it. Who changed it to black, or was it already changed before you started
No.
writing the black suit?
That was the design, black.
Yeah, black.
Yeah.
And did you know that Secret Wars was supposed to come out before your 252, and then they changed it, or did you have something to do with it when it got
No,
printed?
no. We always knew at what issue the Spider-Man was going to get the suit. You forget I was the editor of Secret Wars, so
Oh, okay.
I had been.
Yeah, Shooter was the writer, right? Shooter was the writer.
Shooter was the writer of Secret Wars, but I was the editor, and I had been working on Secret Wars before I found out I was going to be, working on Amazing Spider-Man.
Right. Oh, okay.
Now, were you collaborating with Michelini to find out pieces of the symbiote at the time? The Venom?
Not
or
at
no?
all.
Okay.
No.
No.
Dave,
Wow, that is
Dave
beyond
came
cool.
in after I left Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay.
So it was your brilliant idea to come up with the AF-15 homage cover for 252?
No, I assume that was Ron Friends' idea.
Ron Friends, yeah.
It wasn't your brilliant ideas.
No.
He's like,
When it comes to the cover ideas, I'd say, Ron came up with every one of our great cover ideas.
Okay.
man,
So
that's a good
I can see where Paul's going with his questions. Go ahead and ask him the question, Paul.
Well, what question? I wasn't asking him anything. I was just
Go
trying
ahead,
to know.
go ahead and ask about the Marvel team up.
Which Marvel team?
The Marvel team up.
He's always been curious on which is the real first appearance of the black suit in Spider-Man. Was it ASM 242 or the Marvel team up 141?
252.
Did they come out the same week?
Oh, look, Ron Friends chimed in on that. He said Danny's idea for the
It was
cover.
Danny's idea for the cover. Okay.
He's trying to correct you.
Yeah, we're taking them way back, y'all. Sorry about that.
we go.
Yeah, Roger Stern did the plot for Amazing 252. I ended up doing the plot for the Marvel Team Up after Roger. Here's something that most people don't realize, that when word got out that Spider-Man was changing his costume, everybody hated the idea.
Right, I've read articles.
People don't like change, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, comic book fans are a cowardly and suspicious lot.
Yep.
And we got so much hate mail about people. They're never going to buy another Marvel comic book. They never.
Oh man.
Buy
Oh
another
wow,
Spider-Man
when y'all.
a lot of people didn't want to be tainted by dealing with the black costume. So the regular writer on Marvel Team Up decided he didn't want to have anything to do with that issue, and that's why I plotted it. And later on, Jim Owsley, who became Christopher Priest, he ended up scripting that issue because a lot of guys didn't want to have anything to do with it because this was going to be a disaster. This was going to ruin careers.
They felt that passionate about it. They felt that was going to ruin careers. That they didn't want to touch the black suit. Wow.
Wow. And now people look back on that. They talk
They're
about,
like, wow, I should have jumped on it.
yeah, oh,
Yeah.
brilliant marketing, brilliant planning. No,
Well, isn't it true that even bad press is good press?
Oh, here we go. Oh, Mr. Friends is saying Marvel Age is the first black suit.
Well, can I ask a quick question?
Well,
Well,
Wasn't
that's what I was
Absolutely.
saying.
Absolutely.
wasn't
Go
there
ahead.
didn't somebody actually draw Spider-Man in a black suit and like send it in like in a letter?
Well, it was red. It was red when they
It
said
was red. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
now Spider-Man. When I first became editor of Spider-Man, the first thing I did was change his suit back to black and red. So from the time I was editing it, which predated this by a couple of years, he was in a black and red suit. Over the years, the black has become blue. But it was, when Steve Ditko originally designed it, it was black with some dark blue highlights.
Okay.
Do you have another question, Bree, please?
Not about Spider-Man, no.
Okay, let me
I've got
get
plenty of
to.
questions. If you want to talk Spider-Man, let's stay with Spider-Man for right now.
Well, let me just go to some of the questions that are in the chat.
So you're saying it was 141, so I've been right the whole time.
No, Ron Friend says it's the Marvel Age preview.
Oh, it's a Marvel Age? Oh,
Yeah.
Ron, come on, Ron. Oh.
All right. So Pearson has a question. I'll put it on screen. Can you ask Mr. Tom DeFalco his thoughts on Steve Cohen and the state of the Mets? He's from Queens.
Oh, you don't like the Mets, do you?
Well, I'm sorry. Well, not now, but I grew up a Met fan,
Met fan.
and I used to follow them, pretty religiously, up until they fired Willie Randolph, because they did it in such a classless way that it just ticked me off, and I have not followed the Mets since.
So
I
so
do
what's
go-
your team now? The Astros?
no baseball.
No baseball.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
That's
Man,
how
they
it
made-
goes, man. Yeah,
they
you
made
can't
you
watch your favorite
quit.
team. You're not gonna watch anything.
Yeah, that's it.
Glad you didn't say the Phillies.
Oh, come on. I'm a New York boy. And my football team is the New York Jets.
Oh,
I know it's
because of Aaron Rodgers. That's why.
No, because it's been my football team forever.
Well, I actually have a New York Jets question for you.
Oh Lord.
No. The great thing about being a New York Jet fan is I'm welcome in any city I go to.
Yeah, yes.
Because
yes, you
everybody loves the Jets because they always beat them.
Well, that's not. So my question, I want to know: do you think Fireman Ed should have stayed retired, or
You don't have to answer that question, sir.
All right. Sorry. That's between me and Ed.
all right?
That's
And
Good answer. Good
And
answer.
I am very hopeful that now with Aaron Rodgers, this year, the Jets can win 6 whole games.
There you go.
I like it. You're a real fan. I like that. Not like these Philadelphia Eagle fans that come up with these.
Well,
Do we have any comic book questions?
I have.
Yep.
Let's go.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Bree, please.
All right, so I just want to jump into some stuff about Dazzler real fast.
Okay.
So then nothing to do with Taylor Swift. I could care less. My 12-year-old daughters love Taylor Swift, not my thing. So there's a rumor that Dazzler was supposed to be a black character.
Wow. Originally, the whole thing with Dazzler is Dazzler was going to be put together by a movie studio, a record company,
Right.
comic book company, and I think something else, but I can't remember what that other thing was. Are going to
gonna
do
be
concerts,
Mm-hmm.
and I think at one point they thought it might be Grace Jones
Yes.
would appear in the movie, and then by the time I got in, they told me that Dazzler was going to be Bo Derek,
Yep.
and the movie was going to be directed by John Derek. This is right before Tarzan was released, which destroyed both their careers.
Wow.
And they originally said to me, Dazzler, because Bo is so beautiful, you know, her power is she compels men to tell her the truth. And I remember just looking at these guys and thinking, tell her, she compels people to tell the truth. And I said, and they said, what's the matter? You don't like that? And I said, no, it's not very visual. It's not going to be visual for a movie. It's not going to be visual for a comic book. And I remember one of the guys said, all right, wise guy, what do you think her power should be? And I said, Dazzler, it's probably something to do with light. Mm-hmm. And these guys looked at each other, and it was like a light bulb went off. They looked at me and they said, that's a pretty good idea. And I'm thinking, I'm surrounded by geniuses, because Dazzler, something to do with light. 999 comic book writers out of 1,000 would have said the same thing. But they said, go off, come up with your Bible. And as I was walking out the door, they said, oh, by the way, there is a chance Grace Jones may be the Dazzler. Will that have any effect on your Bible? And I'm thinking, absolutely, are you kidding me? Anyway.
Beyond cool.
So yeah, I guess so. Just to get back to that, so I always found it interesting. Like, so Dazzler has 3 appearances in comic books, and then has her own title within a year, right? So I guess there was kind of like a push, like, so she's in 2 X-Men comics, and then I think she's in an ASM comic, and then debuts with her #1.
Well, actually, what we had done is we had done a Marvel Super Special.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that format. I think it was a 40-page story, Marvel Super Special. And just as we were finishing it up, Marvel decided they weren't going to do super specials anymore. And also the deal with the record company and the movie company, Tarzan came out, and the movie company said, we don't want to have anything to do with John and Bo. And then the record company said, yeah, okay, we're out too.
Yeah.
And then we stuck that comic book in the drawer. But I had created the Bible, which I guess was given to Marv Wolfman and later Chris Claremont, and Dazzler, appeared in their comics. And then somewhere along the line, we're doing something with the direct market, and they said, we should do a comic book that is released,
Yes.
only in the direct market. And they said, oh, wait a minute, we'll pull out that old Dazzler thing, and we'll sort of kind of cut the first issue in half.
All right.
So that was the first 2 issues. In the second issue, there's a splash panel with Dazzler sitting there, and has 2,000 word, thought balloons, as she tries to summarize everything that happened in the first issue.
Okay.
That was something we added.
Wow.
Right. All right. Well, that makes a lot. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. All right.
Now, speaking of which, I know you're not big on social media, but it was just announced that 2 days ago that John Romita Jr., who you worked on Dazzler with, is going to be at the show that you're going to be at the end of the month. So he'll be there. Just FYI, in case you didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know.
He's
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So if anybody,
Is there a lot of stuff you work with?
Excuse me?
Is there a lot of stuff you work with John Romita Jr.?
As writer and penciler, no, just a few issues of Dazzler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but if anybody's in the Houston area, Mr. John Romita Jr., Mr. Tom DeFalco, and several others will actually be appearing at the Eastern Rim Con in Baytown, August 24th and 25th. And that actually gives me just a quick second just to remind people that if anybody is interested in sending anything for Mr. DeFalco to sign, um, you can just reach out to me through email or Instagram, and he'd be happy to sign any comic books, anything that you want to get signed by him. Um, so, okay, great. There is another question in the chat that somebody had, Mr. DeFalco. They were asking about, I'll put it on the screen. How would you have wrapped up the Hobgoblin mystery?
Um, that's such an an old topic. I would not have gone the way. As far as I was concerned, the Hobgoblin was not Ned Leeds,
Wow.
and Roger Stern, the, the Kingsleys. That's not the way I would have gone. I thought that's not the way I would have gone. I had other plans, but it's foolish to discuss them at this stage of the game. So
Okay.
I'd
Wow.
rather just move on.
Your
Okay.
partner in crime had a question. He says,
Yeah, we're going to jump ahead to him.
Will he sign checks?
he's just going in on you tonight.
All right, I'll pay you the money I owe you. Come on.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, man.
Don't bet with your artist. He's always right.
He's always. Here's a
I'm-
good
I'm-
one.
Go ahead.
Miss Liz says, Is there any storyline that you wish that you could have changed? Is there a story you may have done that you probably thought back, maybe I should have went this route?
I try not to think about the past.
Uh,
I as a creative person, as a writer, I think you should always move forward.
oh, okay.
As a writer, every time I reread my stuff, all I see are the mistakes.
Ah,
Yeah.
And I often told Mr. Friends, don't look at the published work. All it can do is depress you. So rather than look at past mistakes, I figured, let me go forward and make new mistakes.
Yep.
Make new ones. Good way to look at it. There's one more question, kind of a different question. It is by, let's see here. Okay, by Mr. Collector. He says, if you could work with any current artist right now, who would it be? I already know what he's gonna say.
Any current artist? It would be Ron Friends.
I knew it. I knew he was gonna say I knew he was gonna say that. There you go, Mr. Collector.
Listen,
I mean, no Clayton Crane, no Peach Momoko, none of them.
He probably don't even know those people.
I'm not familiar with all
He's
So
familiar. That's great. Peter's Paul.
Oh man, this is good.
If I get a choice to work with an artist, it's one of my guys. It's Ron Friends. It's Pat Olive. It's Ron Lim.
You give him the old call and be like, "Hey man, we got to do it again, buddy."
Let's have some fun. Get the old band back together again.
Marvel's calling me nonstop. Let's go, buddy. We got to do it.
See, I like guys who actually tell a visual story, as opposed to a lot of the guys right now. They don't understand visual storytelling.
Wow.
What they want to do is they want to do pin-up shots and poster shots and a lot of heads talking, and
Yep.
I find that very boring. I want action, fun, soap opera.
So you don't read none of the current stuff then? None of,
Not too much.
Ah.
Not too much. Listen, I'm an old fart. I'd like to hide that fact, but the gray hair gives me away.
Right.
I like a lot of action, a lot of adventure. I think that all of media is speeding up, except for comics, which are slowing down. And
Wow.
I think that if we want to keep pace with everything else, let's move things along. I often say to writers, have you been to a movie, any movie? If you go to a movie, within a minute, something exciting has happened. If it's a love story, somebody's heart is breaking in that first minute. If it's an action thing, some bit of action has happened. If it's a comedy, somebody's getting hit with a pie right away. You got to jump into the story. In a novel, if you don't grab somebody with the first sentence, they're not going to continue to the second sentence. So,
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of which, one thing I did want to ask you, um, how was it seeing Spider Ham, one of your creations in the 2018 film Spider Man Into the Spider Verse?
surprising. I was just I was caught off guard by that. I found out that Spider Ham was going to be in there about a week before the film came out, and I was trying to figure out how the heck are they going to stick him in a film. And I was very
Did you like their
surprised.
iteration? Did you like their iteration
I
of the character?
I thought John Mulaney did a fabulous job.
On it, voicing him.
Yeah, and I think Into the Spider Verse is probably the best Spider-Man movie of all of the Spider-Man movies.
Wow.
Very comic booky.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought that film was terrific.
Very
Hey,
good.
Tom.
ahead.
What did you work,
Mr. DeFalco, you
No,
meant.
no, you can call me
Mr.
Tom.
DeFalco? Tom DeFalco. Did you work with? Can I ask you a question about Frank Miller?
Sure.
Oh.
All right. So, all right. I mean, I'm second place to you. Frank Miller's my favorite. So, what was it like? So he leaves before you take over, right, as editor, and goes and does Dark Knight, and then comes back and takes over Daredevil again to do, I guess, Born Again at that time.
Right.
What was that like working with him? Like when he changed his artistic style, and even his writing style, like when he came back to Marvel, what was that like? Was he easy to work with? Was he hard to work with?
Um, I didn't work with him personally
Okay.
at that particular time. I knew Frank. I think of Frank as a buddy. He's a good guy, and he's just very intense, and he's very intense about his work, and he is constantly evolving. And and that's what you want. You want to see creative guys constantly evolve. I thought Born Again was I thought Born Again was terrific,
Yes.
and I thought that I forget that Daredevil.
Even when Kingpin found out his secret identity, I mean, you didn't say, "Hey, Frank, I think you need to back up a little bit, buddy."
I don't
mean,
think I was editor in chief at the time, but
oh, okay, I got you.
but I was just reading the story and thought, boy, this is great stuff.
Wow.
I think Frank's Daredevil work is probably his best work.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Much better. I like it better than the Dark Knight stuff.
Ooh.
What can I tell you?
Yeah.
I think
I had another question. What about when they created Venom? Did you have any thoughts on that when they took the symbiote off of Spider-Man?
I thought that Dave Michelinie, I thought he took some pre-existing stuff and created something new there. As far as I'm concerned, Dave Michelinie is the creator of Venom.
Venom.
He described it in detail. Todd McFarlane basically followed Dave's description. Since he's the first guy to draw it, he's the co-creator of it. But I just look in awe at what Dave did.
But they use similar 252 stuff, right? Like, I mean,
They,
Black Suit stuff with the.
they used a lot of pre-existing things, but they came up with something new.
That's
So,
cool. Wow.
but you know, people often ask me, do I feel that I had a hand in the creation of Venom? I had a hand in the creation of the symbiote, but Venom is his own character. That's Dave.
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, as a fan, I appreciate everybody's 2 cents in the creation of that character because it is one of my favorite characters. Yeah, I absolutely love all of it. I mean, that early stuff with the suit making Peter
Oh,
Parker, angry and all this other stuff was kind of a nice thing with the
your
story.
partner chimed in again, sir.
Yep.
Oh, we did a
You,
brief
you must have
tie-in with-
forgot about the tie-in of the Spider-Man run with the Born Again. He's reminding you.
Yep, I forgot.
He's keeping you on your toes.
See, I told you, Ron's the smart.
It was
guy.
a tie-in to the Born Again.
Yeah, Ron is the smart guy. I'm the good-looking one.
Oh man.
Do we have any
I
more
think
questions in the chat? Let me see.
I think Ed had a big question, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to put a pretty long, big question up there for you to see. Ed says, were you in the Marvel presidency, Terrell Stewart's office when Stewart met with Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and Rob Liefeld when Marvel first found out the group was severing ties with the publisher?
Were you there
Yeah.
when they left? I guess that's probably what he's saying.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I was there for that meeting.
Ooh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it was by accident. I was supposed.
Did he really talk about his father's watch?
Whose father's watch?
Let him,
Todd
let him talk.
McFarlane's
Let-
father's
let him
watch.
talk.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember that. I remember Todd talking about Frank Sinatra.
What the hell?
When Frank
Wow, this
Sinatra
kid's
comes
good.
comes into town, no, he never has to buy a drink.
Mm.
And he comes
that,
into town.
and that's what Todd McFarlane wanted. That when he came into town, he wanted Marvel to pick up all his tabs. Anyway,
Wow.
Terry and I was the next day. There was some big auction at what's the big auction house? I forget. And I was supposed to meet Terry, but I didn't know if I was going to meet him at Marvel or meet him at the auction house. So I go up to find out where we're meeting, and in his office, there are the guys, and Terry invites me in, which I'll never forgive him for. The guys were telling Terry what they wanted from Marvel. Somebody says, we want 50% of the profits. Somebody else says, no, we want 70% of the profits. And, we want to make sure that whenever we fly anywhere, we fly first class for ourselves and our spouses. A couple of the other guys says, well, we're not married, so we want it for our entourage. Terry,
Wow, okay.
Terry basically said to the guys, hey guys, you're kind of all over the map. Why don't you guys get together, agree on your list of demands, and present the demands to us? And, we'll look at the demands and we'll negotiate. If we can say yes, we'll say yes. If we, can't give you exactly what you want, we'll, make another offer. But you guys get together first and give us the demands. The next day at that auction, I saw one of the guys being interviewed by a fanzine, and he's saying, yes, we went to Marvel, and now we're leaving Marvel. And I walked up to the guy and I said, wait a minute. That meeting last night was a sham, wasn't it? He goes, yeah, we had to, approach Marvel to say, hey, you know, we approached Marvel, but they didn't give in to our demands. I said, but you never gave us the actual demands.
Wow.
Were they maybe
Totally
looking for you guys to beg them not to leave? You think they were looking for something like that?
No, they had already signed their contracts with Malibu.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It
Okay.
was just one of those, you know, one of those sham meetings.
You know what?
But the bottom line is, you know, I can say this now because the years have passed. We've all been friends all of this time. All right? There was a lot of publicity back and forth. Marvel treated us unfairly. Marvel treated us great. Blah, 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 blah. But we all got along, and we still get along. You know, I look forward to whenever I run across Todd or Rob Liefeld or Jim or, you know, any of the guys.
Did they ever ask you to do any writing for Image?
I did do a comic book for Image. It
Okay.
was called Randy O'Donnell is the Man. 3 issues came out.
Okay, good. Okay.
You know, so, you know.
So there was no bad blood there.
Nah, no bad blood. I mean,
Gotcha.
Can I ask
All
one
right.
quick follow up to that?
Go ahead,
I
go
know,
ahead.
I know. Hey, listen, man, because at that time I was like 12. In 90, 91, I was like 12 years old. Like, so comic books were huge, maybe the biggest they ever were at that point, right? Like, as far as sales went, and you were dealing with guys like Jim Lee, Liefeld, Silvestri, you know, Keough, and all these incredible artists. They had commercials on TV, at least Liefeld did. You had rap stars showing up to get their signatures at like, what was that? What were those 3 or 4 years like? Like, you were in charge at that time during like the pinnacle. Like,
things were crazy. You know, sales were going through the roof. Everything was great. I kept telling all the artists, put money aside. This is a bubble. It ain't gonna last.
Wow, you told them about the bubble.
Listen. I told people, you know, make sure you're putting money in your savings accounts or you're investing it because
You seen it coming. Yeah.
you
Wow.
know, none of this stuff. No lies detected.
He said no lies detected.
Because he knows I was telling people this. And, you know, here's the funny thing.
So you knew that there was a bubble. Wow, this is amazing.
You know, nothing lasts forever,
Right.
all right? Even mountains get washed into the sea, so nothing lasts forever. I've been in the comic book industry when 3 times it was the end of the comic book industry. You know, I remember in the 70s, we had to cut back the number of publications we were doing because they needed the pulp for toilet paper, which told me that comic books, you know, were less important than toilet paper. Have to
And
agree with that.
gas shortages, yeah, I understand.
You know, and here's something: when the Image guys left, when Jim Lee left the X-Men, did sales go up or down?
They're the same, right?
They went up.
No, they
went
went
up.
up. Wow.
Because there was so much publicity about Jim Lee leaving the X-Men. Everybody had to buy the X-Men to see what was going on. Todd McFarlane leaves Spider-Man. Sales are going up.
Gotcha.
You know, at one point, one of the upstairs guys came to me and said, you know, what are we going to do? These artists are leaving. I said, hey, we want more guys to leave. if this is going to jump our sales like this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't like excited and seeing the records y'all were breaking with the print runs and sales.
Of course they were excited.
Well,
Yeah, that's what
we were very happy about that. But we also knew that, you know, if we made a lot of money this quarter, we had to make even more money next quarter.
So there was always pressure. Always pressure.
Yeah,
on you
had to
guys.
set the. Oh, your buddy chimed in again, sir.
Trading cards had already collapsed as well. Yeah, the trading cards started to collapse long before the comic books did.
Yeah. So, you know, speaking of which, this has always been a problem in the industry. it always kind of a challenge to always meet those deadlines? I know with the artists, it's really hard to meet those deadlines, and they're doing maybe a page a day or 2 pages a day. Um, is there always like a lot of pressure, and was there always kind of struggles to meet those deadlines every month
Oh
or every
yeah,
week? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Listen, when I was an editor, I used to think it was a miracle that any book left the house.
All right.
Wow.
I back in those days, before I became editor in chief, at least once a week, I'd have to pull an all nighter in the office to make sure that some book got out at the last minute.
You were never late on turning in stuff, right?
Everybody was late on turning in stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
That's because you had to wait on Ron. Is that what that was?
no, no, no. Not
Don't
at
get
all.
nothing started, Paul.
Now, here's one thing that makes me different from most of the other writers is whenever anybody asks me if I could, do a fill-in or jump in and help out with something,
How about?
I would figure out the deadlines based on my worst work days, as opposed to figuring it out based on my best work days. So I over the years I've passed on so many assignments just because I wasn't sure I could get it in. And time and time again, I've discussed this with editors where they said, can you get it done by this time? I said, no, but I can get it done by this time. And then, ended up doing it a lot faster than the editor expected. Nobody ever complains when you turn it in early.
And that was
And
actually going to lead me into the follow up question.
Oh.
What's the most amount of titles you had to actually write in a month?
Wow.
I don't know. I never bothered to count.
Okay.
I know there were times where I was writing three comic books on a regular basis, and sometimes one of them would go bi-weekly, or somebody needed a fill-in, or an annual, or that last minute thing, or an extra plot. So I was always pitching in and helping out. That's why I ended up doing a lot of fill-ins for a lot of the titles around, just because I could stay up late.
Yeah. All right. I got another question, but I'm going to hold
Oh, go ahead.
off. Did you guys have something you wanted to ask him?
Yeah, I wanted to ask. So when you became editor, was it something that you knew that was going to happen, or you just
Not at all.
been asking?
No, I could see that the company was getting ready to make a change,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the number two guy. So
Oh, okay.
I just assumed that when they made the change, they would, fire my boss and fire me. And I was,
Wow.
preparing to leave the comic book industry around that time.
Oh, so you're saying that the time they made you editor, you were ready to leave the comics?
Yeah, I was in fact negotiating for a job at an animation studio when I
Oh.
found out that the company was going to make me editor in chief.
No, DC. You didn't want to go to DC, or
Well, he did a full circle. He went back to DC eventually, briefly.
Later,
oh, well, yeah.
later on. There have been a couple of times where I just assumed that my time at the comic book industry was coming to an end. And on all of those occasions, it never once occurred to me to contact DC or contact Image or anything else like that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I always look for work outside the industry.
Wow, that's cool.
Was it true that you were
Animation.
in fear of? Was it true that you were in fear of being typecasted with Spider-Man at the time when you're
No.
getting ready to head out? No. Okay.
No, I don't think anybody ever typed. I think the only time I was typecast was when I was doing Spider-Girl. That a number of the editors at the time were not reading Spider-Girl,
Right.
and they assumed that Spider-Girl was a little kid's book.
Wow.
And they and a number have said to me, well, you don't do the kind of exciting work that we want for the older readers. And I was thinking, guys, you don't know the kind of work I'm doing outside of the comic book industry, and it's all for older readers. And I figured, what? Who cares?
Wow. Do you
Wow.
regret not getting into animation?
Who said I would? I never got into animation.
Right.
Oh,
right.
so you did get involved with animation.
Guys, I am a lucky guy. I've done a lot of things outside of comic.
Oh,
Sorry about that, Mr. DeFalco.
No, that's quite all right. But listen. For a number of reasons, some deals I made years ago, promises I made to certain people, I keep my non-comic book work quiet.
okay.
Uh,
Very good.
and but
Sorry about that, Mr. DeFalco.
no. That's
I got rid of him already, sir.
Hey, listen. Here's the goofiest thing. I have always said that if left to my own devices, I would have never done anything other than comic books. Luckily, I was not left to my own devices.
Oh man. Oh man.
And,
Your buddy chimed in again.
Yep. Oh, here we go. So life is very good.
Good. That's good. We got about maybe 5 minutes or so, and then we're gonna wrap.
Somebody said you
up.
sang one of their books. Thank you,
What's
Mr.
that?
DeFalco, for
signing
singing one of my books.
That's
That's
signing.
signing. Yeah.
signing.
Oh,
That was Mystic Traveler. She was thanking you for that.
signing. Oh, gotcha.
I grew up during one of the questions I want to ask you. I grew up during the
Uh-oh.
Clone Saga. Do you remember any backlash from the fans? Because you guys had the Peter Parker clone from 1975 as Spider-Man.
First off, I want to tell you that the beginning, middle, and end of the story was how we always knew it was going to end.
Sorry about that, Mr. DeFalco. Get him out of here.
No, that's okay. I always knew that Peter Parker was going to be the real Spider-Man. All right? We were getting positive and negative things about the Clone Saga all along. I remember I went to a comic book convention, and I went to the desk to get my badge. And I told the guy my name, and he said, Tom DeFalco, you're with the Clone Saga, right? And I said, yeah. He says, I love the Clone Saga. And the guy next to him said, really, I hate the Clone Saga.
Damn.
And the next thing I knew, everybody behind the table is arguing about the Clone Saga.
Damn.
And I got, finally grabbed my badge and turned around, and all the professionals behind me are all arguing about the Clone Saga. So I thought, boy, we must be doing something right if people are that emotional about it. And, all I know about the Clone Saga is, here it is, 20 years, 30 years later.
They're still talking.
And people are still talking about it. They're still reprinting it, so we must have been doing something right.
Isn't that what you want as a writer? You want to get that? I mean, you must have been like, man, look at these guys arguing. One that probably started World War III or something.
When you write a story, you want to touch somebody emotionally, because if a story touches your heart, it's priceless, and if it doesn't touch your heart, it's worthless. And Clone Saga touched a lot of people's hearts, so we must have done something right.
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
So this is from Mystic Traveler. Mystic, you can actually send in, reach out to me. I'll send you a submission form if you want to get anything signed by Mr. DeFalco. He will be signing, but I need to have the books in by August 22nd. You can reach out to me through email or Instagram, and we'll set you up and get some books for Mr. DeFalco to sign. August 24th and 25th. Do you guys have any
Oh,
more questions?
Ed had another question
Okay.
for you, Mr. DeFalco. Good Lord, Ed, how do you think about all these questions, Ed?
Oh man.
Um, I'm not in the production end of the comics anymore, so the digital end of things, I don't really deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, that headache is what the current editors deal with. All I have to do is is type on my computer.
Mr.
Miss
DeFalco.
Liz has a question. She says, "Who's your favorite villain?"
Probably Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the
Right.
nice thing about Doctor Doom is, you know, I have a person in mind whenever I write him.
If
So
you
you
had,
were
if you had to pick a favorite book to sign, if people brought books to you to sign, what would be the one book that would be your favorite book to sign?
I I have no idea.
No
Probably,
idea.
Probably got so many.
probably Venom,
Right.
right? Venom.
yes, Spider Girl or something.
Spider-Girl.
Venom.
I get a kick out of seeing all the old comic books. A lot of times somebody brings me a comic book and I look at the cover and then I have to open up the book just to remind myself, what the issue was. Um, but
You enjoy signing more when, like, books that you wrote, or the ones that say that you're the editor?
um, I guess I like the ones that I wrote more than the one where I was the
Makes
editor.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Figured you had, like, maybe the directive thing, like, "Hey guys, I want this or that in the story." No, just let them.
Nah, listen. As editor in chief, I try to stay out of getting involved. Unless a number of times guys would plot themselves into corners and then would come to me to see if I could figure out a way out of that. Out of them, the plot hole they were in. But for the most part, I tried not to be directing storylines or telling
Oh,
editors who they should use or who they shouldn't use. I just, wanted everybody, to go out and do the best work they could. And I had a great bunch of executive editors working with me: Mark Grunwald, Carl Potts, Bob Budiansky, and
wow.
they were the guys who were dealing with the actual editors on a day-to-day basis.
I got a couple more questions, and then I think we're going to wrap this up. Pearson on the screen. I don't know if you answered this, asked this already, Paul. Says, why isn't Carmine Infantino
Carmine Infantino.
talked about in the same category as the other big names of the era? Can Tom touch on Carmen's influences during the early Silver days?
Yeah, you know, I think that among the professionals, Carmine is revered. Um, his early Flash work, his early Adam Strange stuff. I was just at a convention the other day with an artist, Arthur Seidem, who's a terrific artist in his own right, and the two of us were looking at old Carmine Infantino, Adam Strange comic books and just getting all giggly about them. Um, Carmine, just just one of the true masters. So I can't figure. I don't know. Why certain people are considered great and other people aren't, because most of the people that I consider great are
Mm-hmm.
not in the current conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love Jack Kirby. I love Steve Ditko. John Romita. Some golden age artists. Jack Cole. Bob Powell. Will Eisner. I mean, there are a lot of great artists and great writers. I mean, I'm in awe when I look at the real great guys. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still learning how to do this. Give me a couple of years and I get it right.
A couple
I
of
thought you
years.
had Ron. I thought you said you had Ron helping you.
Yeah, well, listen, Ron's the guy.
Comics Testing says thank you for coming on the channel, Mr. Falco. We have real storytellers here. It was nice to meet you. I guess he met you in Nashville, Tennessee. I do want to ask probably one final question. We never really asked you about Mr. Stan Lee.
Oh shit. Okay.
What was your relationship like with Mr. Stan Lee?
Stan the man.
Stand the man Lee.
I see he kind of raised up in the chair when I asked that question.
No. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. Stan Lee was just a sweet, wonderful guy, and he had this magic superpower. Whenever Stan spoke to you, he made you feel like you were the most important person in the world to him.
Wow.
He was the most incredible idea factory I have ever seen in action. Stan would, rattle off one idea after the next, and I used to say, if the company had any brains, they'd hire somebody with a notepad to stand there and write down all the ideas, because in 15 minutes, Stan would give you 100 ideas, and you're looking, 60 of these we've seen before. 20 of these, they're okay. 10 of these are actually very interesting, and 5 of these are freaking brilliant. And then 15 minutes later, he'd give you another 100 ideas. I know that there is talk these days that no one has ever seen Stan Lee, actually standing by the typewriter, typing a story. Well, I don't think anybody's ever seen me do that either, because most of the time when I do it, I'm locked in a room by myself.
Yeah.
I've worked with Ron Friends for 40 years now. And I don't think Ron has ever seen me actually type a story. And I don't think I've ever seen him draw one of the pages that we've worked on together. But I know he's doing it. And he guesses that I'm doing it. It's not my paid interns. Really isn't.
So y'all didn't work in the office per se. Y'all worked
all my writing I did at home.
at home.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you can't concentrate that often.
In that office,
that makes
Too much
sense.
stuff going on.
The bullpen, huh? Is that what they call it?
You're trying to do your assignment, and then they're like, "Hey, we got a couple more for you to do or something." You're like, "I'm gonna."
So you guys probably worked 60, 80 hours a week realistically, huh?
Well, he said he would pull it in all nighters.
At least.
Wow.
When I look back at my schedule, I used to get up every morning about 5:30, do some writing, catch a 7 o'clock, 7:30 train into the office, stay in the office till like 7 o'clock, get home about 8 o'clock, have dinner, and then go in and work till 11, 12, 1 o'clock, go to bed and start it all over the next day. And that was my schedule 7 days a week, except on Saturday and Sunday, I didn't have to go into the office.
Right.
Well, wow. All right. I could totally talk for another hour. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and close this out. Did anybody have any last words for Mr. DeFalco before we head out? Pre-plays, Paul?
No curse words.
No,
curse.
no, man. I mean, look, man, you were in charge of the books that I collected when I was a kid. So I was born in '79. So you were there until '94. Like that was like you got me into collecting comic books. Like your work, and you kept me collecting and reading. I still read to this day. I read last night. So I'm 45. I have 2 daughters and a wife, a business, and I still find time to collect comic books and read comic books. And it goes a long way. So you did some good things in your time. So thank you.
thank you very much. I love the medium. I just love the medium. I get to work with brilliant guys like Ron Friends and Paul Ryan and Ron Lim and Herb Trimpe. So many great artists and so many great people. Mark Rummel. I, you know, I think of myself as the luckiest guy in the world. And, I've had a great time in this, and um, thank you for remembering, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Paul, do you have any last words, or for Mr. DeFalco before we head
Oh,
out?
look at Mr. Friends again, sir. No, I mean, it was great meeting you, and hopefully to see you here in Houston when you get here. And yeah, great going down memory lane with you, sir. Great, yeah, great
Well,
stuff.
I'm looking forward to this convention.
Oh, look at him again. He's like,
So.
All right.
So I'm sure we're gonna have a great time at this convention.
That's right. And like
no,
I had
I
asked you,
mean, I mean, strictly as a strict time thing, sir. So you'll get there when.
yeah, I'll get you that. Ms. H.L. says, thank you for your time and all of the work and characters you've created over the years that we enjoy and love.
No, thank you guys. Thank you for buying the books. No, thanks for being there. You guys, kept me employed.
Oh, he's going again, sir.
Well,
Don't
he knows I was always afraid that if this didn't work out, I'd have to get a real job.
Oh, if it didn't work out yet.
All right, so guys, we're gonna go ahead and close this out. Do you have any final thoughts, Mr. DeFalco? Final thoughts or shout outs?
Not really. I just want to thank everybody. I've had a great time working on comics, and I hope I continue to do so.
Absolutely. All right. So Mr. Ron Friends, talk to Mr. DeFalco, because I would like you guys to come out to my show in March. I really would like to have both of you guys come out as a pair. So hopefully we can make that happen. Guys, this is it. We're going to go ahead and close this out. Thank you for joining Strictly Comics, this live Q&A with Mr. Tom DeFalco. Actually, just after we end here, check out the auction, which starts in about 20 minutes or so, right here on Strictly Comics, hosted by the best host in the auctions, Mr. Paul Comics himself. So be sure to check that out, guys, as soon as we wrap it up here. You guys have a good night, and till the next interview, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you.